Movie magic is what transports us to unique worlds and what brings magical characters to life. But have you ever wondered what some iconic screen moments would look like without their visual effects? In this video, we'll be taking you behind the scenes of some of the most iconic moments from your favorite movies and TV shows. As much as we wish it was possible, we all know that humans just can't fly and that the Hulk just doesn't exist. So how exactly do they make things like superheroes and dinosaurs seem so real? It all happens in the editing room. So let's take a look at the behind the scenes of sets like Maleficent, The Hunger Games, and The Avengers before all the CGI gets added in.
Would you like to see?
Is it safe?
From the monstrous waves to the debris that line the water during battle, Pirates of the Caribbean is full of dashes of CGI and VFX editing that bring the movie to life. But there's one specific moment from The Dead Men Tell No Tales that looks completely different behind the scenes.
John.
The ghost shark scene featuring Jack Sparrow and Henry Turner was filmed in 3 different locations: an actual outdoor scenery, a small water tank, and an indoor set that was completely blue screen. Their rowboat was put on a gimbal so that it would give the appearance that they were actually being attacked by sharks. Angelina Jolie put her all into the making of Maleficent, but no matter how much of a renegade she was on screen, her character would not have come to life without the help of CGI, VFX, and a very interesting machine called a fork tuner. Angelina was secured into a machine that was controlled by other people in order to get the motions right. They basically became puppets while filming. Everything was completely blue screen, and her wings were added later on in editing. The fairies in their small form were also completely animated using a special program. The actresses' faces were processed so that they'd be able to copy their exact animation later on. It's probably no surprise that the majority of this film is CGI and visual effects. But what might surprise you is how Baby Groot and Rocket looked behind the scenes. They were, well, basically not there. Both characters are completely CGI.
I'm Groot.
No!
During filming, they'd have stuffed animals and models as stand-ins so the actors wouldn't be completely lost. Beauty and the Beast is where most millennials got their first taste of love and romance. But there's nothing lovely and romantic about how Beauty and the Beast looked behind the scenes. Dan Stevens didn't have a super realistic Beast costume. Instead, he wore a motion capture suit. The costume helped the editors use CGI to make the Beast come to life later on. The Be Our Guest scene was also pretty lackluster behind the scenes. Lumiere's grand performance was later added in during editing, which left Emma Watson acting at a fancy table alone.
Be our guest, we are guest, be our guest.
Avatar took 10 years to make, so you can only imagine how much effort went into making everything perfect. Pandora itself was created completely using green screen and VFX. But what's even more interesting is the way the avatars were brought to life. The actors wore motion capture suits to film their scenes, and also had to get 3D models of themselves done so they could digitally make their avatar based on their appearance later on.
Looks like you. This is your avatar now, Jake.
A whopping 300 shots were made using VFX for Divergent to produce the utopian city we see in the film. That includes the dauntless train jumping scene that catapults Triss into the world of danger. It was actually filmed in 6 different locations, with a platform that was completely made later with visual effects. What you see in the film is actually the editing team blending clips from different locations to seamlessly fit together.
Is it just me? Or are they trying to kill us?
Taylor Lautner didn't get a special wolf suit. Instead, he explored the magical qualities gray spandex had to offer and acted out his scenes with Kristen Stewart to make sure she got the eye contact right. Then the VFX team did their magic and created Jacob's wolf form later on. They also used CGI to edit actress Mackenzie Foy's face on different aged children after Renesmee was born. Let's just be grateful we dodged them using Chuck Esme.
It was Nessie who wanted me there.
Nessie? You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?
Grey's Anatomy may not have the need for fancy editing like CGI and VFX, but their special effects and prop team have their work cut out for them. The show brings to life some pretty realistic medical procedures. What you're actually seeing is the actors working on a dummy full of animal intestines.
What the hell is that thing?
Oh, that is a kidney in a jar. That's not fair. How did you get that?
In Narnia, characters like Aslan were completely computer-generated. The actors would have to act out their scenes alone. To make it a little bit easier, they would have stand-ins where the character would be. For Aslan, they even came up with a type of model that could be controlled by someone inside. That way, they could get some of his movements naturally. Girl on Fire, Catching Fire. Fire was a huge part of the Hunger Games franchise, and the majority of the time it was added into shots using CGI and VFX.
Well, I was just hoping that I wouldn't burn to death.
For instance, Katniss's costumes both in the first, second, and third films were all thanks to the editing team. And Jennifer Lawrence actually filmed the scene where Katniss runs from the flames in the arena completely without fire. The Dark Forest was huge in the Wizard of Oz spin-off, and it wouldn't have been able to come alive without CGI.
Hate the Dark Forest! Hate the Dark Forest!
During filming, James Franco actually had to dodge poles meant to be the tree branches of the forest that were controlled by the crew. The China Glass Girl was also completely done in the editing room. For the space scenery in the movie, almost everything was shot using a green screen. The filmmakers also had to find the perfect way to make it seem like the actors were acting without gravity. For the majority of the filming, they were strapped into a harness to give the camera effect that they were floating in space. The Red Queen might not have seemed as malicious and intimidating if it wasn't for her disproportioned head, or if it wasn't Helena Bonham Carter.
I used to have the White Queen, you know. Her head is so small.
It's tiny. It's a pimple of a head.
But her body proportions were only altered in editing. For filming, she looked completely normal. There were also a bunch of other iconic scenes that looked interesting behind the scenes.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
Jurassic World may have had its audiences believing that dinosaurs might one day roam the Earth again, but for a lot of the filming, no type of dinosaur, fake or real, was even present. Instead, the actors would perform the scene while being mindful of the markers that told them where the dinosaurs were meant to be. If the actor had a scene where they were interacting with the dinosaur, they would have people dress up in fake dinosaur heads and act as a stand-in. The most impressive part of the Avengers Endgame is probably how well they made the Hulk scenes come to life. Mark Ruffalo wore a special motion suit and headpiece while acting, so that they'd later be able to transform him and his facial features into the hero.
Put the brains and the brawn together, and now look at me. Best of both worlds.
Another notable CGI moment is when they had to actually use programs to create Captain Marvel's hair. The iconic moment that Black Panther rose from the fire and ashes to show everyone he was still alive,
I am not dead!
is probably something I and a lot of other Marvel fans will never forget. But behind the scenes, all Chadwick Boseman had to do was step onto some foam blocks, and the rest was all edited in. The only character in the Jungle Book who wasn't the product of CGI or VFX was Mowgli. The rest of his jungle friends were made with CGI. The actor had fake animals on set to help him imagine the scene and deliver his lines better. The majority of the jungle was also completely done using CGI.
Relax, kid. No need to get worked up, okay?
Daenerys flying her dragon is nothing short of magical, but behind the scenes, it was a little less graceful. They had Emilia Clarke climb up on an animatronic dragon surrounded by a green screen that would mimic the movements of flying. The editor's job was to bring all of that to life. Sorry to say, folks, but Gollum really doesn't exist. Not even behind the scenes. Unless you count his actor, Andy Serkis, dressed up in a motion suit saying, "Precious." But the credit all goes to the visual effects team who brought the character to life perfectly. Are we really surprised that a portion of this film was spent on a yacht? All these scenes were actually filmed in a studio with green screens. The iconic scene where the yacht is taken over by some pretty intense waves wouldn't have been possible without CGI and visual effects either.
What is this?
It's your wedding present.
What?
It's your wedding present, sweetheart.
Some of these scenarios look nothing like the final product we saw on screen. It makes you realize that acting is a lot more than just reading off of a script, and that a film's editing and special effects team deserves way more credit than they get. What behind-the-scenes moment was the most shocking for you? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up for Movie Magic.